Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. So today we have an interesting looking puzzle here. As you'll see, the title is crossed out. So the title is Multiples of 5 by Evan. I don't think I've done a puzzle by Evan before. If not, awesome. Always like to have creators that I've not done puzzles for. So what the heck does this mean? Well, once we get into the rules, it's going to make some sense. So what are the rules? So we've got normal Sudoku rules apply. So every row, every column, and every 3x3 box contains the digits 1 through 9 once each. Then we have no two orthogonally adjacent cells may sum to 5, 10, or 15. So that would be our negative of multiples of 5. So look at any two adjacent cells. They cannot sum up to the 5, 10, or 15. Then we have killer cages, so digits in a cage sum to the number in the top left corner of that cage and cannot repeat. So we've got a multitude of 10 clues here. So let's look at this one real quick. So whatever these three digits are, add up to 10. Whatever these three digits are, add up to 20. The rest are 10s, as you can see. And that's it. So it seems, I don't want to say innocuous. It seems like a simple type of rule, but it's kind of a twist as something that I don't believe I've ever seen used as a rule set in a Sudoku, but it probably has. It might be out there somewhere. I don't quite know, but to me, this is a new concept of rule. So always fun to try to dabble into those things because you go into it not knowing some of the intricacies that you might know about a typical rule set, like German whispers can't have 5s and black crop keys can't have 5, 7s, and 9s. Those sorts of things where it's ingrained in your head as to what those are. This, not so much. So we're going to have to work through this one and try to figure out what's going on. That said, link will be in the description below, and let's try to figure this one out together. So what the heck is going on? Well, the first thing I noticed was these 10 clues. Now we know that we have to add up to 10. And since they're all of the 4 cell 10 clues are confined within their own columns, it means we couldn't repeat digits anyway, but we have to be able to add up to 10 in 4 cells. The only way to do that is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's just what they are. Now, that is a bit of interest there, because if we think about the negative constraint of no two orthogonally adjacent cells may sum to 5, what does that say about the placement of these digits? Well, it says, essentially what these 10 clues are is, if you want to think of it this way, 2 sets of V clues, almost. But we can't do it in that such way because that would break the rule. So, if you think about what a V clue is, either it's a 1-4 or it's a 2-3. Well, if you put a 2-3 or a 1-4 next to each other, you would sum to 5. We cannot do that. So it's kind of like the opposite of the V clue, where you have to have the 2 digits that add up to 5 be separated from each other by the other set of clues, and has to separate that one as well. So if you have a 1-4, it would be these 2. If you have the 2-3, it would be these 2, that sort of thing. So you get this kind of patterning, I guess, of the 2 sets of 5s. Now, how the heck do we do anything with that is a very good question. And we can't necessarily take this coloring scheme and apply it anywhere else. In this specific order, that is, because let's say we find out these are the 1-4 pair, it doesn't mean that these are the 1-4 pairs necessarily. These could be 1-4, so they could the actual coloring could switch back and forth. We don't quite know that. We're going to have to use something else to figure out what is going on, or at least to maybe pare these down to something that's more usable. Now, what would that be? Well, this 1, 2, 3, 4 pair is looking at these other 10 clues. What does that tell us? Well, it means these have to be high digits, and maybe that will be the way to think about these, as these are low digits, all of them, and then we might be able to break them up later. These two have to be either mid or high, because we could have a 5 on them. But they can't ever go higher than 7. Because if they had, because it's in a 10 cage, a 3-cell 10 cage, so if this was an 8, let's say you'd have to put 2 1s on it. So the 7 will work because you could put a 1 2. Oh wait, these can't be 5s. That's a good thing to think about, because that would force these to be 5s, and therefore that would break our rule. So these are not 5s. So these are a 6-7 pair, and they are a high grouping. Now we know that these have to be 2 low digits, because think about, if this is one of these is a 6, one of these is a 7, so we're going to know what the breakdown of these other ones is dependent on what these are. But if one of them is a 6, we have a 1 3 pair that has to go with it to get up to 10. If one of them is 7, we know it's a 1 2 pair. So there's always a 1 in both of these, first off, and they're always low. Now that 1 sees this, we can get rid of that as a 1. I guess that does bring us down to something now, so that this cannot be a 4. Because if this is a 4, it has to be next to a 1, since this can't be it anymore. So we get rid of that. Does that do anything further? Let's think about it for a second. Let's think. So with the, well, does that affect our 2 3 pairs in any way? I don't think it does. It would sure be nice to be able to figure out which one of these is 1 2 and which one is 1 3, because that will do more work here. But the 4 could very well be here, and the 1 could be here, or it could be the 4 1 like this. And of course the 2 3s could be the other option. So I don't know that that gives us a whole lot of information just yet. Can we do anything with this 20? Is there a way to break down the 20 cage into anything of good use? We know there has to at least be 1 high digit on it, right? Because you can't have, 5 4 3. That would never work. Are we set to having to have 2 high digits? Is there any instance where that isn't necessary? So if we had 9 and a 5, yeah, we're at 14, so we'd have to have another high digits. There has to be 2 high digits and either a mid or a low. So if we know there's 2 high digits here, that gives us 3 of the given highs. That tells us that if we look back at this column here, we can only have 1 more high. We have to have, if we think about it in the column itself, there has to be 2 highs and a 5. So the mid is 5. Well, if we know these are 2 highs and we have a high here, there has to be a 5 in one of these two. And this has to be a high. And then this is a combination of a 5 and a high. So I'm going to put a mark there. This is low, and this is a combination of 2 highs and 1 low. Okay, what does that do for us? And we can reduce what lows can go on that 20, I believe, right? Because the highest you can ever get is a 9 8, which is 17, so you'd have to at least have a 3. As a bare minimum, 1s and 2s don't work. So this has 1 and 2 on it. Now, we don't know if it's the 1-2 pair that's on it, or if it's a 1 in here with a 3, and the 2 is off. Okay, where do we take that? We know there has to at least be a 9 or an 8 on this thing as well, because we obviously can't do 6 and 7 because it would break this. But we can have a 6 or a 7 beyond here as well. We have to have a 6 or a 7 on here because we can't have 6 or 7s in any of these other ones. So this has one of the 6 or the 7 plus the 8 or the 9. Whew. So this is the possibility here of 5, 8, 9. Let's put that in. And this has to be from 8 or 9. Do we have a negative constraint that we can use here that I hadn't thought about? There must be, right? If we think about the combinations that are possible. Because we can't have a 9, 6. We can't have this be a 5 and a 9 with a 6, because that would create a 15. Wherever the 9 is, it would be with the 6. The same would be true. We can't have a 5, 8 with a 7. So does that do enough to push something off, or to give us any understanding of what must go in here? The other way to think would be, well, no, not quite. I was going to say, is there anything that we can do with that 2 that we just determined? And again, it may be of use to turn these from just straight up lows into the different pairings of lows. Because these have to be their own. These have to be of the 2 different colored lows. So 1, 2, or 1, 3. And this would be the same concept. Don't know if we can propagate that coloring, though, is the problem. Is there anything in these groupings that we can remove as options, though? So we'd say if whatever this is, if this is the 8, this has to be a 6. If this is the 9, this has to be the 7. But that just goes up into here, and then once we could figure that out, then it would provide something over here. But so we have 2 highs and a low. We can only have one more low in this entirety. Maybe that's what we need to start thinking about, the combinations of all of these in terms of lows and highs. Because we can only have one low in any of these positions. In this column, we can only have one more low. Because we know one of these is low, in the remaining part of this column, we can only have one more low. So there's going to be some juxtaposition of those lows and highs. How the heck do we figure it out, though? Or prove that one instance over the other is accurate? quite know. Do I just need to think about our options? Well, let's think about it this way then. We know that one of these is a 1, 2, and one of them is a 1, 3. We don't know which one's which. I'm going to just type these in for the moment. So we know that these can never be of the low that's in here can never be of either of those pairs. So the low in here is going to have to be the 4. Because let's say this is a 1, 2. Well, this is a 1, 3. 1, 2, and 3 see all of this. What if this is the 1, 3? Well, this is the 1, 2. The 1, 2, and 3 see all of this. So there is a 4 in here. Which means this is a 1, 2, 3 triple. The 4 in the 20, does that tell us what has to go in? Because we have 16 left. Yes, it does. It has to be a 9, 7. Okay. I just, again, had to think about the right concept. Which means this is 6. This is 7. This has to be 9. That had to be 9. These are not. Okay. Now, if this is the 6, this has to be the 1, 3. So this is 2. This has to be the 1, 2. And we've got some movement. Took me, 12 minutes to get to this point. But hey, that's not too bad, I guess. So, what now do we know? We know there's a 9 in here somewhere. Let's start thinking about everything that has to be. Is there okay, the 2. We cannot have 5s, 10s, or 15s. Let's focus on our negative constraints. This has to be 5. This has to be 8. This can't be a 3. This has to be 1. This has to be 3. This has to be 2. This has to be 1. This is not 2. This is a 3 or a 4. Let's fix our coloring here, just to have it as it is. This can't be 2, this can't be 1, this can't be 3, this can't be 1, this can't be 3. This can't be 4, because the 1 would be on either side of it. This can't be a 2. This can't be a 1. This can't be a 4, because it would be next to the 1. So we know one of these two is our 4. And whichever one it is tells us where the 1 goes. Okay. Do we have anything further? This can't be a 1. So this can't be a 4. Okay, here we go. Think, again, negative constraints. I get distracted. This can't be a 3 because it'd be next to a 2. So this has to be 1. This has to be 2. Now, if that's the 1, this has to be the 4. This has to be the 3. This can't be 4. This can't be 4. This can't be 2. Neither of these can be 3. This can't be 1. That's a 2, 4 pair. That's a 1, 3 pair. All right, what else we got now? So, any other negative constraints that are staring us in the eyeballs? Let's think about the 7 and the 3. Yes, they are. This is 4. This has to be 1. These are not 1 and 4. Here we go. This has to be 2. This has to be 4. This has to be 1. This has to be 3. All right. This can't be a 1 or a 2. Just making sure we're seeing across the board here. All right. So this can't, oh wait, this is the only place a 2 can go. I just saw that. So this is 2, which means this is 3. This is not 3. So we have our 1, 4s here. Now, I think we're to the point now where we can start looking at other digits and see what negative constraints come about. So 3 here, this has to be 3. Therefore, we're going to know what these are. 5, 8, and 6. Doesn't do much at the moment. What about these guys? We might have something here, because these have to be from 5, 6, and 8. This can't be 6, because it can't be next to the 9. This can't be 8, because it can't be next to the 7. This can't be 6, because it can't be next to the 4. So this is 6. Here we go. Now we can say what these digits are. They have to be from 4, 7, and 9. This is not 9. Okay. Do we have anything else looking across that I'm having to scan for? Don't think so, but let's look at our Sudoku for a second. One of these is a 1. One of these is a 1. One of these is a 1. Hoping to see a negative constraint somewhere along the line that we can use. Currently don't see it. Oh, this one here, it can't be next to a 4. This is 7. Let's get rid of those. Okay, let's look at 2's. One of these is a 2. One of these must be a 2 because it can't be next to a 3. We get an X-wing in 2's. None of these are 2's. This can't be a 2 because it's next to a 3. So this is our 2, which means this is our 2. There we go. The negative constraints are coming in handy. Who would have thunk, right? Do we have anything further? I think our 2's are to a point now. So let's go with 3's. Right. One of these must be a 3. There's nothing there just yet. What else do we have? None of these can be 3, so one of these is a 3. None of these can be 3, so one of these is a 3, but there's a 3 here, so that's 3. That's 3. We get a deep, deep doot in the corner. Sorry, over there. One of these days I'll note a point in the correct direction. It might happen. Maybe. Probably not. What else do we have? That's 3's. Let's take a look at our 4's to see if we get anything fun happening there. This can't be a 4, so one of these two is. None of these can be, so one of these two is. Don't see a negative constraint with those 4's anywhere, though. And we're running out of digits that we have a lot of uses of at the moment, because there's only one 5, a couple of 6's. Don't know if these are going to be enough to take us anywhere. We know there can't be a 6 in conjunction with our 4. Is there anywhere else that we can think about 6's? It doesn't look like it. And 7's, again, we don't have much there. Oh, here we go. Sorry, wasn't thinking about 15's. This can't be a 9, so that's 7. Got to remember 5, 10's, and 15's. Sometimes I get kind of pigeonholed into thinking about specific negative constraints there. What does that make these guys? There's got to be something here. Yes, the 8. Where does the 8 go? It cannot go next to the 2, so it goes here. That forces them, these two digits, to be what? 5 and 9. We do not have anything at the moment that's going to rule which one is which. What does that force these to be, though? We have to have from 6, 7, and 8. These can't be 8, so that pushes the 8 up. Good. So we've got a 6, 7 pair. Does that look back onto anything here? We have to do what? Well, okay, let's look over here. Let's keep it in this region. One of these is a 6, so this can't be a 4. So that's 1, that's 4. That's going to give us this one now. Does that do anything else? I think it just leaves our X-wing of 1's left over at the moment. Is there anything else? Not yet. Okay, so these digits, well, where's the 4 go? It's the better way to think about it. It can't go in any of these, so it has to go here. So we get a 4 and a 9. Now we can start thinking about this region better. We have to have 5 and 9. Do we have a negative constraint poking its head out anywhere? There. Don't see one. What about these guys? We have to have 6 and 7. This can't be 6, so this is 7 and 6. There we go. Now let's bring it down the line, I guess, or this column, one of these two, wherever we've got some digits, maybe even the rows. We need to have a 5 at some point. It can go anywhere. We need to have an 8. 8 can't go here. We also need the 9. The 9 can go pretty much anywhere. So that row doesn't give us much, does it? Let's think back in this column then again. So we need 5, 7, and 9. This can't be 7, so it's 5 or 9, which leaves this having to be 7. Does that then translate into, let's say, the column or one of the rows? Let's see. 4 can, well, we know the 4 has to go over here anyway. We also need to have a 5, a 6, and an 8. There's not really anything. Well, yes, there is. 8 cannot go with the 7, but that still leaves the possibility of 8s on either side, though. So almost, but not quite. What about, I think I already looked at these, but let's just put the digits in. 5, 8, and 9. Was there anything on these that this couldn't be 8, we said. All right, we're going to have to look around and find another negative constraint to get us through this thing. So let's look around. Anywhere a 5 can't go in this column? No. 6s, no. 8s, no. And 9s are a no. But it might be the combinations of them that we need to look at. So let's 5, 6, 8, 9. So we know that the 9 and the 6 cannot be next to each other. So they're either here, sorry, well, they could be spread apart because the 8 and the 5 could go together if they wanted to. Make sure, again, I'm not missing a negative constraint because I'm not thinking about all of the negative constraints. We said one of these had to be an 8, which means none of these are 8s. This can't be an 8. So one of these two is an 8. Problem is, that doesn't give us anything. Because the 8 can only not be paired with a 7 and a 2, and they're already away. Okay, so let's look elsewhere then. And where is that elsewhere? It's got to be a negative constraint of some sort, I think. Because we've done our Sudoku for a few things, but maybe we have more on the board that we can start looking back at it again. So our 1s, again, we have that X-wing left over. The 2s, we have an X-wing left over. 3s, another set of X-wings. Okay, just again looking to see if there's anything in these sets of digits that I'm not picking up that I should be. 4s. Not much on the 4s we can work with. Again, we still don't really have any 5s. 6s, we got a 6 on the board, I guess. Doesn't do a whole lot though, does it? What about those 7s? Okay, that's what I need to look at the 7s, because we get a 2-7 pair here, which is going to force this to be a 4. So we can get rid of those numbers. Now, can we take that 4 any further? Well, this can't be a 6, we can say that. What does that do for this column, maybe? Because we have to have 5, 6, 8, and 9. Let's just put those options in. This cannot be 9, it cannot be 8. This cannot be 8. That's a 5, 6, 9 triple. There we go. This has to be 8. Therefore, this is not. This can't be 8. So this is a 5, 9 pair we've pulled out here now. Again, I don't see another negative constraint just yet. Can we go any further with 7s or 8s? Let's think about it. Don't see anything on the 7s. We know one of these was a 7. Let's think about that concept of an 8. This can't be an 8. So one of these two is an 8. One of these two is an 8, because we got this, and we can't put an 8 next to a 2. I don't see that getting us any further at the moment, though. So let's look again elsewhere. We can't have the 9 and the 6 together, so this has to be our 6. Okay, that's a 5, 9 now, so this is 8, this is 5, that should do some work. This has to be 8, this has to be 4, this is not 8. These are a given 1, 7, and 6. This isn't our 1. Is there anything? No. This really is an exercise in scanning. Now we know there has to be a 6 in one of these two, so this cannot ever be a 9. This can't be, well, no. Thought we could have reduced those a little bit more as well. I don't quite think we can. What else do we have? So we got that 5, 9 pair, we got the 2, 7. Don't quite have this sorted out. We just know the 9 and the 6 can't be next to each other, but we could have the 9 here and the 6 here, and this be an 8, 5 pair, something along those lines. Do we have anything across the board here that we have to put a digit? Where does the 9 go? It has to go in one of these two. Not quite enough to get that 1, so maybe if we figure out something else. Because once we start getting to the point where we can start differentiating 2s and 3s and stuff like that, it's going to set off our other digits, but we have to get that point where we can get to it. All right, let's just put these in. So we know they're from 5, 6, 8, and 9. This can't be 8, this can't be 8. These don't interact. Well, we can't have a 9, 6 pair again. Maybe that's kind of the way things are going. We can't do 9, 6, so this is 5, 9. If that's 5, 9, that does start to force things out. This is 6. Let's get rid of those. All right, we're We have a 5, 9 here. That's good. We have a 5, 9 here. That's good. What else do we have? We know these aren't 8s, so let's just get rid of that. What else? What else? What else? I think we're going to have to look to see what our options are remaining. We've got a bunch of 5, 9 pairs that we're going to have to sort out here. These have to be from 1, 6, and 7, and 4. This can't be a 1. Do we have anything cutting across that's going to give us any information? We know one of these is a 4. What about... No. Again, if we can figure out which one is the 4, it could have implications on the 1s. I have this bad feeling like I'm missing something that's obvious. I'm sure I am, but what about these guys? These had to be from 1, 3, 6, and 7. That did absolutely nothing. Well, that can't be a 1, obviously. Is it one of these rows, again, that just has a single digit that's missing somewhere that has to be plopped in? Let's take a look at that for a second. Don't see anything in that particular range there. Oh, 4 here. That's a little bit of an obvious thing. There we go. So again, it just like didn't quite locate that negative constraint there. So none of these are 7s. Let's get rid of some of the markings because it's not being useful. It's just clogging things up and making it harder to see. Now, what did that do for us? We know one of these is a 7 and one of these is a... No, we don't know that one of these is a 7. We just knew that one of these wasn't. Because we could still have 7s here. Okay, let's keep scanning for our negative constraints. I thought this one was going to be the one that did it, but unless there's just another one that I'm not seeing again. 3s don't do anything. The 2 doesn't do anything. This 2 doesn't do anything. 6s and 7s don't have much impact. No. So there's going to be something here where if we put a single digit in, it's going to cause problems elsewhere. The question is, what is that going to be? And it seems like this here is an okay place to start, because depending on where the 9 goes, well, we can say this isn't a 6. I just looked up here. These aren't 6s. Whichever place the 9 goes, it cannot go next to the 6. Conversely, wherever the 9 goes, it cannot be next to the 1. So what does that say? Does it say anything? Can this be a 1? Or I think it can, yeah. Because you get a 6 and a 7 pair. You'd force the 6 here, which go with the 5. The 9 would go next to it, and the 7 would go next to that. What about this column again? We've got the 5-9 pair. This has to, let's just put all the digits in because it's like kind of the last thing we've got going on here. These have to be from 6, 7, and 8. Now the 8 and the 7 can't be next to each other. That tells us this cannot be a 7, or this can't be a 6, because if it was, it would force this to be a 7, 8 pair. This is not our 6. So our 6 is, no, we don't know that still, because there still is the possibility of a 6 down here. One of these 3 is a 6. Come on, we can get this. If we have an 8 here, that forces a 7 and a 6. Any other digit obviously forces the 8 down here. Where the 6 goes is going to determine where the 9 goes, or vice versa. Come on, what is it? So if this was a, let's say this is a 9, that forces this to be a 6, this to be a 7, this to be an 8, and a 5. That seems to work. It would force because we said if this was the 9, right? This would be the 6. That would force this to be the 7. This would be the 4. So we can go down this road of picking out which digit is which and seeing if it breaks. It's typically not how I prefer to go about solve, but in this case, I don't see a negative constraint elsewhere. But let's look at it real closely at every single digit. Maybe there is something there. This guy, he can't be a freaking 9. That's what it is. 5, 9, 9, 5. These are not 5s. Or I should say that's one of the things that it is. What else do we have? Okay, let's just continue on. That was a good bit, but it may not have been just enough. All right, let's look at all of them again. This can be a 5, and it can be a 9. Again, this could be a 5, and it can't be a 9. Yep, I'm just missing these easy negative constraints that are sitting up here. That then is going to break all of this up, because this can't be 6 anymore. That 9 makes this the 5 and this the 9. This has to be our 7, 6, and 1, and here we go. This now has to be 1, this has to be 4. This can't be 1. We have a 3, 6 pair. We've got a 9, 8, and 7. The 4 is going to look over here now. Let's get 9 and 4, and that's going to come back, right? Yep, 6, 9, 3, 6. This now can't be a 7, so it has to be 8 and 7. It's going to give us our 2 and our 7. And our 3 and our 2. Yep, that was just missing some fairly obvious negative constraints because I was looking down here and not up high. This is a 5. So there we go. You saw the puzzle solution correct. Whew. We're moving along quite well. At the end of the day, it was about a 40-minute solve, so that's not terrible. I think I spent about 10 minutes trying to just find a negative constraint in there, so tack on that, get about a half hour. That's a pleasant solving experience. So, excellent puzzle. Again, a little bit slow on the uptake, and that's just visualizing what needed to be seen. So anyway, excellent puzzle by Evan. I hope I see more puzzles from them, and I hope you all enjoyed that one, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks a lot.